It appears that we are rapidly becoming one of those places in deep, dark Africa I used to read about. Those places in which those photos of little black babies with flies swirling around their emaciated bodies, wild-eyed soldiers intimidating citizens, and images of famine and drought are taken. The bread and butter of every NGO, and it crushes my soul. In my life, in this, the land of my birth, Namibia, I never thought I would see the day that avoidable diseases such as cholera and hepatitis E would plague my people. But the day has come. We visited the very established so-called informal settlement of Ombili this week, where community activist Samuel Kapepo alerted us to a growing concern amongst residents about the hepatitis E outbreak in their community. According to recent reports, more than 4,000 cases of hepatitis E have been reported to local hospitals since the first case was reported. Thus far, 40 Namibians have lost their lives to this disease. Concerned residents showed us around the area. We spoke to some of the concerned residents.
Because of dirty things and toilet flushing toilets, because like that one, the owner of that one is there on up, but as we are here. Now even the smelling and what is coming to our food. Or
I think, to my own opinion, the reason why the community is suffering of this is because of many people that are surrounding us. They normally take their bins and plastics, they throw it in the riverbeds, whereby people, kids are coming and playing and so on. So sometimes we don't have like municipality, City of Windhoek to come and clean up. The thing get rodents, and the most comes out, so people when they come and throw their waters and they are passing by, such things like that can happen, so you can be affected by the smell.
Only some people who used to take our rubbish, and when I throw it there, I will take the match and burn it, but some they just throw it like that.
Unfortunately, the community can take their efforts to clean up the the place, but it's not really their duty. I think the leader of the certain locations should take it up, and then at least they can invite City of Windhoek to come and clean up, because us, we cannot be able to come clean up because we don't have groups to cover our hands, and then we can clean up the riverbeds. So it's also a high risk for us. We won't be able to take this opportunity like to do that.
Now we need a better life, because now we are suffering here in Ombili. We need a better life. We need the toilet. We need the power, electricity better. We are suffering.
General practitioner Dr. Chayela explained just what hepatitis E is and how it affects us.
Hepatitis E virus is actually a virus that infects the liver. It's actually one of the subtypes. There are about 5 of them known to medical science today. It's very contagious. Normally we see it a lot in the areas of low socioeconomic setting, like informal settlements. Because what then happens is that in those places, often people do not have proper toilet and facilities for sanitation. So they use the outside behind the bushes. So then what happens is, if the rainwater comes, it washes the feces into the rivers, contaminating the water. Now, if individuals consume that water, either by drinking it, using it to prepare their food, washing their fruits and veggies, and they eat the fruit and veggies, they can easily get infected with hepatitis. Now, it's also common that if somebody is infected with hepatitis and they do not wash their hand properly, if you shake their hand, you can also get infected with hepatitis. And also, if somebody is maybe selling fruits or veggies in the street, they wash their fruits and veggies with contaminated water. You go and buy that fruit and consume it, you can easily get infected with hepatitis. You know, it can be very contagious and dangerous in an individual that is otherwise healthy. Normally, you tend to buffer it off very well. But if individuals have maybe an immunocompromising condition where their immune system is not strong enough, like diabetes, individuals with cancer, individuals that are infected with HIV, pregnant mummies, if they pick it up, you know, the consequences can be very fatal to those individuals. In a nutshell, that's what hepatitis is. And of course, it presents, you know, the presentation is quite non-specific. It can present just with symptoms like flu, for instance, just having a bit of a fever, maybe nausea, headache, abdominal pain. It might also mean that you could have hepatitis E infection because it's often non-specific. But there are other 2 signs that can present as well that tend to be specific to hepatitis E. That is what we call jaundice which is basically the yellow appearance in the white part of your eye. Individuals that are light-skinned, they tend to also be yellow in the skin. You can pick it up. Not compared to people like myself, you can't see it properly, but if somebody is lighter skinned, you can actually see it on the skin as well. And then of course they also tend to urinate a bit of darker urine. That also could be a pointer to a presence of hepatitis. And of course, if individual comes into the health facility where you suspect there's a presence of hepatitis, you draw the blood, send it off for further testing to confirm the presence or the absence of hepatitis.
We spoke to the local councillor, Martin David, and asked him why, after so many years, this community has no access to basic services.
The hepatitis, you know, is a disease that always affecting people because of the, you know, if people are, you know, not to have access to clean water, and they have no access to, you know, adequate sanitation. So this create hepatitis. But hepatitis reports, the first report was 2017 here in Havana area. And the government, United Nations, Regional Council, City of Windhoek, and the many stakeholders are in full swing fighting hepatitis. Even the situation of sanitation is, you know, not sufficient at the moment in that area. It's because the area is called informal settlement, whereby people coming from rural areas to the city, and because of place to stay, people, you know, put up structures which is now cambashes and silver houses, so to say. And you know, if the Ministry of Health, City of Windhoek, you know, provided many tanks of water in those areas, many water taps, additional, since this case started 2017. So additional water taps was installed in those areas, plus water tanks. So, and now that is the situation. Again, the Ministry of Health have, you know, come up with a new system of nurses, staff nurses in those areas. In my constituency, we have about 22 of nurses who are on daily basis in the community, you know, rendering services, providing some informations when it comes to diseases and other, you know, problems of kind.
Whilst it seems that the city is only recently, after allowing these informal settlements to flourish for decades, begun to demolish some shacks, some residents of Ombili claim to have lived there for 20 years, with limited access to basic services. Hundreds of people in this community use these two toilets and have to walk a distance with a container in hand to collect water at a communal access point. Add to that poverty, unemployment, and helplessness, and boom, everything that the liberation stood for down a pit latrine. I spoke to the City of Windhoek's PR department about this clear lack of service delivery, and with this being an election year, Ombili resident Jeremiah Paulus had this to say.
You know, when they come to our locations and they like election times, they want us to vote for them, but they don't do good for us, at least to live a better place. As long as they're living up somewhere there in towns, living a good life, but as we are here in Tatura suffering, living a bad life, and they accept us to go vote. This is just not good.
Our resident voice of the people, Cecilia Chirico, is up next in Cecilia Says.
The mirror is shining, but I have a problem. I do have a problem, mostly in our locations. Why do we have to stay in a place where it's dirty? It's why the kids are getting sick. It's why the people are getting sick. Please, let's keep our own environment clean. If we don't keep it clean, who's going to clean it for us? Because we need to keep the place clean so the kids can be healthy, so you yourself, you can be healthy. We take the rubbish, we throw it there. We take dirty water, we throw it there. Tomorrow, it's gonna be a dirty mess, smelling bad, and then you say we don't keep our country clean. We start now how to keep our own country clean. Who's going to keep it for us if it's not us ourselves? Let's start today, not tomorrow, right now.